You know, it certainly was an exciting game, and we're really pleased that we won it. It was a hard-fought game. I thought Idaho had a really good game plan, both on offense and defense, and their quarterback, Petrino, made tons of plays. I thought our guys responded well. What we did well offensively, we certainly ran the ball well, and we controlled the ball, and when we needed to run the timeout, which is always difficult to do, our offense did that. The other thing I think is pretty, I guess, noteworthy is that we've not turned the ball over offensively. We've taken care of the football, and that's important. Defensively, we were not great at times getting off the field, and I think some of that has to do with some of the plays that they made, but certainly there's things that we can do better. The other thing that was disappointing, we did not get a takeaway in that game, but we had normally been doing that. A big play in the kicking game. I thought Austin Conway's alert punt return was really important and impactful. That put us in scoring position, which was really helpful. There's certainly areas of improvement we need to do. I think we need to be able to stay on the field longer offensively. We certainly got to throw the ball better, and those numbers are not inaccurate. They're accurate, and so we're off pace as far as completing passes. It's not like we're going to turn into a Washington State and throw the ball all the time, but we've certainly got to be more efficient, and there's a lot of different reasons why, which I'll be more than happy to address that as we go. Certainly excited about playing the University of Tulsa. They came off a really tough loss against Oklahoma State. I know they had battled back. They had jumped out, Oklahoma State had jumped out ahead of them, and then the resolve of their football team, they came roaring back and actually were ahead at halftime. And I think they've got an excellent quarterback, Zach Smith. Played the majority of the game. He did not complete the game. Boomer came in at the end, so I don't know what his status is, but he certainly is an excellent quarterback. He runs that system well. Coach Montgomery has been a head coach there for a certain number of years and has done an excellent job. He was part of the whole Art Briles tree at University of Houston, and then at Baylor when they were really building their dynasty and their offensive explosiveness. So we've got our hands full. We're excited about playing. We are 3-0, so that's a good place to be, but we've got to figure out how we can get to 1-0 and win this next game. I also want to say thanks to the fans. I thought it was an excellent home crowd. Those are the type of games that we really enjoy, and I think it speaks well for the University of Wyoming to be able to attract that number of fans for our second game. Certainly, the weather and how we've been playing has had a big impact on that. But I want to say thanks, because that certainly is important as it drives college football. So at this time, questions? No further questions? Yes.
Craig, when you evaluate the past, what are the reasons for the lack of production?
Right. I went through the film meticulously, and then in this game in particular, and first of all, I think we got to start with protection. There was some times that we were not protecting Sean nearly as well as what we need to, and that's not to sugarcoat some of his lack of performance, but that's where it does start. And so there was a couple times when he either was hit just when he released the football or had somebody in his face, and you're going to have some of that, Davis, but too much, and so we have to do that. Sean's fundamentally, he's got to get his feet set a little bit better, and I think sometimes he's rushing some things. Even sometimes when he's on the run, he was out of sync a little bit. So some of the balls that were thrown were catchable balls, but they were not ideal balls. And so, it's kind of a three-headed monster there. But we are going to start with protection. We've got to protect him better. I think we've got to look at what we're doing with the things that he can do better to put the ball in a better place. And then we need to come up with some of those tough catches. I mean, I get it. You don't want to catch a ball that's behind you a little bit or below your knees, but some of it, sometimes you got to make a play too. And so it was a whole almost a perfect storm there, but we've had too much. And so this week we're going to place a major emphasis to getting those things cleaned up, because we're running the ball well. And that's going to be a trademark of ours, but we cannot be one-dimensional. We have to be able to move the ball through the air, and you're going to see defenses. I'm sure if I were playing the University of Wyoming, I'd say, hey, I'm going to make them have to throw the football, because we are efficient at running the football. I think our offensive line's doing a better job. We're getting a better push. Running backs are running well. And so what you're seeing is safeties have gotten involved in the run game. And, for us, sometimes that's a double-edged sword, because if the safety misses a play, like on Trey's long run, well, it's a big, big play, but we can't live and die with that. Yes.
Coach, kind of following up on that, when does it become kind of a worry for you and the staff of a mental issue with the passing game for these? Because we're still talking about young guys.
Right, yeah, and Coach Vegan and I have talked about that. You're talking about a freshman, and we've got to put him in a position to where he feels success. I have seen him time and time again in practice throw the ball really efficiently. So, but there's a difference between practice and you've got a scout team out there and you're not under duress, and then when you go out there and do it in the game. However, I thought he threw the ball fairly well last year, and so we've seen him do it. And I think this is where Coach Vegan's really going to hone down and dial up some things that are going to be really effective for him to put him in position to be successful. I don't care who you are. Sean, as you guys know, he was elected as a captain. He is a confident young man. He's not cocky, but he is confident, and there's an air about him. But I don't care who you are. After a while, you got to experience some success. I do think his threshold of confidence is going to see him through, though. I just don't think he's a guy that's not self-assured. I think he is. But we got to have him do some things that are going to put him in position to do well. Yes, Davis.
Do you think he's comfortable doing some of your straight drop back passing game moments, or do you have to maybe try to move the pocket, get him on the outside? And
Well, we're not going to give our whole game plan away, and that's a fair question. Yeah. I think our offensive system is very complex, and that's why one of the reasons why you see these guys have transitioned in the NFL, because much of it is NFL stuff. We're feeding with a fire hose, and right now he's probably getting drenched a little bit. And so I think we need to look at what we do with him, but we cannot go into a shell and just say, okay, we're not going to throw him, and the only thing he's ever going to do is these real simple throws. He's got a strong arm, and so we're going to need to dial up some of the things that he does best.
With all the excitement that was created with the few games he was able to start last year, and then thinking about, well, I got a whole season to get ready for next year, do you think maybe there's some internal pressures that he just needs to relax a little bit?
Well, you're a pretty experienced sports writer and you understand people. We're also dealing with a pretty young guy, and expectations are high. I'm still real high on him, and Tyler's a good player too, and so we are 3-0. Can he throw the ball better? Yes, he certainly can throw the ball better. I've seen him do it. We have seen him do it, and so how much internal pressure there is, Tracy, I don't know. I just saw him over in the dining hall. He's got a smile on his face, but I don't. He wants to play really well. It's not a deal where he's just happy with throwing, 41% or 39%. It's not like that. But I don't sense a guy that's just about ready to, we're going to need to go send him to a sports psychologist. I think we're in a better position than that. Yes?
How much can the tight ends help a young quarterback?
Oh, yeah, it was interesting. I slipped away from the office yesterday to get a cup of coffee, and I came back and I ran into one of our former players, and I won't name his name, but he played a long time ago. And Coach, you went to the tight end once. Why don't you go to the tight end more? I go, well, that sounds like an armchair quarterback comment. We did hit the tight end on the first play. However, it was a busted coverage. But I think our tight ends are good players, and there's things that we can do with them. But to say that, okay, that's going to solve all of Sean's problems, I don't think that's accurate. However, I think we do have playmakers at the tight end position. We need to integrate those guys into our game plan a little bit more. Other questions? I do want to apologize. I think I don't know who it was, asked me what our identity was. I said it was 3-0. Is that guy in this room that asked that question?
I don't believe so. I think it was our guy that was coming.
Okay, I was being a little testy, and some of you guys know me pretty good. I do think we need to have an identity, and Coach Vegan and I spent some time on that. We got to hone down what we're doing and get some things that we do really well. We're running the ball well, so that may be our identity, but we cannot just be, a team that doesn't do anything but run.
Coach,
Yes.
can you build on the fact that you found ways to win with a younger football team?
Well, that's been, and I brought that up to our team in the locker room. I said, we're going to enjoy the win because it was not easy. There was some beautiful things. I think when you get the ball back and you got 3 minutes left and the other team knows that you have to run and you're able to run the clock out, that's a good thing. Or when they get the ball down and it's 1st and goal on the 2 and we hold up, those are some good things. Thought we punted better. And we're finding resourceful ways to win games. However, when you are operating on those margins to continue, you're not going to be very successful very long. We've got to get better. We have to have continual improvement. When you have some young players, they need to play well. And then when you have some seasoned veterans, I think Tyler Hall is playing great right now, and Logan Wilson's playing really well. They're leading the way. So I know we're 3-0. There's probably some historians in the room. Wyoming very rarely starts out 3-0. We are there, but we're not looking. I mean, I'm stating that, but we got to look forward and see what we can do to get to 1-0. And when I was saying that, it was interesting. I was saying we got to figure out a way to get to 1-0. Rocket was looking at me, going, "Wait a minute, Coach. What do you mean 1-0? We already." Well, the mantra is we got to figure out what we got to do to win the next game. Yes.
Is this your first trip back to Tulsa since you coached there?
Boy, you've gone through my bio pretty well. No, I've had the pleasure. I've gone down a couple times recruiting, but it was interesting. I walked across campus and I went through their stadium. When I was a young coach, I think I was 26 years old, Lovey Smith and I were on the staff together, and Lovey was a young coach also, and we painted the steps, we hung ceiling tile in the players' locker room. The stadium's changed. It's really been updated since that time. But it was a great 2 years there. But I can date myself a little bit. I can tell you this: there was no videotape. It was 16 millimeter film, and the guy who filmed it was a daytime plumber. So they're probably in a much better position right now. But I'm looking forward to coming back. And Coach Montgomery, while I don't know him, he enjoys a great national reputation, and it should be a classic game. I know at one time Tulsa was in our conference and we played them, so there is some history there as well. Yes, Davis.
Craig, you guys have been outscored 24-0 the first quarter this year. Is there anything you can put your finger on as to what's happening?
Boy, you can take a cold bucket of water and just dump it on a 3-0 record, but that's why your job. I understand that. No, we're talking about that. It was a point of emphasis last week, and I think some of it, we had a pretty good drive and we didn't come up with any points, and then we didn't get off the field. So we're going to emphasize it some more. It's certainly not in our plans. I do think, and it's not to say, okay, we're just going to go out there and be vanilla and, kind of figure out what they're going to do, and then we're going to really play. That's going to come back and bite us in the butt if we don't get that corrected. So we're going to make it a point of emphasis to be more aggressive with our calls this week.
There were a lot of questions with the offensive line coming in this season with some guys who lost to injury, some guys that were moving around. And, through 3 games, they've only given up 2 sacks. But it sounds like, from your initial comments about what's ailing the passing game, that maybe that sacks number isn't the best way to assess how that unit's performed so far.
No, I really don't think so. Here's what I look at. Now, we need to improve our protection. Also, Sean's got some pretty good mobility. So sacks is not the only indicator. The other thing that I see is, we're getting a surge, and where before at times we would just be stoned at the line. Most of the time there's some yardage for the back to at least gain some yardage, and sometimes there's some pretty gaping holes. And so I think we're a much more cohesive group. We have, a couple players that are not there, but the guys that have come in their place have done well, and we are getting good movement. And so beyond the pass protection, which we've got to improve, But I think we're getting a better push on the offensive line to where our backs are able to make some hay.
Given their youth, has it been impressive to see how they've come along as young as that line is?
Yeah, I was real concerned about that, and we have a new coach and a bunch of new players in there, and yeah, they have adapted to the maybe some new philosophies that we're teaching them, some new techniques, but they're playing really well together. And you know, on the sideline, I don't hear any clamoring or any finger pointing or anything like that. They're a good group, and I think they're going to continue to get better. And we're going to have them for a long time. Yes, Davis.
Well, Antonio Velasquez, coming off that knee injury last year, how do you think he's performed?
I think he's done well. You know, he got a little bit concerned. He tweaked his knee in the game. He got rolled up on, but I think he's playing well. And Rudy Stouffer's the other tackles playing well also. It was a hard physical game. You know, most everybody finished, but there's always some remnants. And so if there's anything up there, I'll let you know.
Can you talk more about Tulsa? You talked about the quarterbacks, but Brooks at running back in there. You know,
Well, they've
up
got,
front
you know,
defense.
the style of offense they run, it's a fast-paced offense. They get a lot of plays in. I know against Oklahoma State, they had 49 plays in the first half. And so they balance out the passing game and the running game. Their offensive line comes off the football, and they've got a couple tandem running backs that really do a nice job. And so it's not like you can just be minus in the box and count on them just playing basketball, or grass basketball. Now they're going to run the football, and so that makes us have to account for that. Defensively, I think they're a stingy defense. They operate on a three-man front, and so that's going to be a little bit different for us as well. And they stun a lot, and so that's going to be a challenge for our offensive line as well. Yes, Davis.
Do you still expect to not have Antonio this week?
We're going to be hopeful that he is going to be here. Matter of fact, I would say I'm going to visit with him tomorrow.
Is he still in California right now?
He'll be in late tonight.
Okay.
Mhm.